It's not operational yet. The remote piloting and AI control haven't reached the application stage.
Who said anything about an AI? That was Coldman's mistake 10 years ago.
Be that as it may, we'll need to modify postural control to accommodate a human pilot. I share your urgency, but we need more time to finish it.
Analyze transmission. He's been in contact with Big Boss.
Huey Emmerich was doomed from the start. The son of a scientist whose life was dedicated to researching and developing nuclear weapons as part of the real-life Manhattan Project, Huey spent the early portion of his childhood respecting his father's work. This illusion was shattered in 5th grade when a Japanese exchange student shared the true extent of atrocity levied upon Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Huey, having never understood the true nature of the nuclear bomb before, swiftly grew to resent his father. Dr. Emmerich Sr. was already racked with guilt because of his life's work. Plus, extensive radiation exposure, an occupational hazard for sure, he knew to have caused Huey to be born a paraplegic, unable to use his legs due to an abnormal spine. Perhaps Huey's charred beginning, ironically born August 6, 1945, the day of the first nuclear bomb drop in Hiroshima, meant he was tarred with unshakable loathsomeness. His hatred bloomed like a mushroom cloud into full-on psychopathy as he grew up. Huey Emmerich is the living, breathing personification of evil men and the reprehensible acts during wartime. Despite detesting his father's work, resenting the death and destruction caused by nuclear weaponry, and blaming his father's radiation exposure for his disabilities, Huey still surpassed his father's ill-gotten achievements. He became self-serving and sycophantic, and the most detestable of all villains in the entire Metal Gear series. The reality is, however, that Huey's despicability was an achievement he attained on his own, his penchant for lying revealing deep-seated hypocrisy in every treacherous act.
I haven't killed anyone. The rest is all wrong too. The inspection was supposed to help everyone. I sacrificed myself for my companions just as much as any of you. Why won't you believe me?
Where do we even start to unpack the nefarious, hypocritical acts of the once seemingly innocuous engineer? Well, for starters, he's a murderer. Strangelove, his once romantic partner, wife, and mother to his son, died by his hand, having been left to suffocate in the mammal pod for daring to hide their son Hal in an effort to keep him from being used as a living battery test pilot for Metal Gear Sahelanthropus. Then there's XOF leader Skullface, whom Huey killed in a vain effort to prove he was wronged by Skullface when it really was a cowardly act, slaying an already beaten Skullface simply to prop up his lies. These acts are even more two-faced, seeing as Huey accosts Venom Snake for putting down some of his diamond dogs due to being infected during the parasite outbreak. Parasites, lest we forget, Huey released himself to test before selling to Cypher. Next, he's capable of treason, of betraying his own country by developing machines of war for the Soviet Union. If he's capable of selling out his own country, he's certainly capable of betraying the company he keeps. He's instrumental in enabling Cypher's XOF to destroy Mother Base by offering them prized information on MSF, then masquerading their Trojan horse plot to infiltrate Mother Base as a UN inspection, disarming MSF soldiers beforehand. He sells out Big Boss to Cypher too, before lying through his teeth under interrogation from Venom Snake, Ocelot, and Miller. The inconsistency in his testimonies even caused Master Interrogator Ocelot to surmise Huey suffers with delusional disorder.
Please keep me here. I need protection. Why?
You're the odd one out.
The most tragic though, despite the shopping list worth of treachery and hypocrisy, is Huey Emmerich never truly faces up to the fact that he's a wrongdoer. Instead, it's all too easy for him to blame others. His cowardice dictates he never accepts responsibility for the damage he causes. He still believes his innocence even when he's eventually cast adrift, left to float the ocean in a precarious life raft, the buoyancy of which required he lob his precious prosthetics overboard to keep afloat. Clarity never arrives despite opportunity to ruminate whilst floating out at sea.
In no time, he'll be telling tales about the black-hearted diamond dogs. The shining white knight, blabbering on about our injustice, hiding behind his fool's idea of morality.
When he resurfaces years later, remarried to his second wife in Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, he's still bitter and twisted. At least with the Phantom Pain's backstory and Huey's resultant infamy, this is what we're led to believe despite it seeming like tragedy when the first game released in 2001. As can be interpreted, even his final throw is a spiteful act. For there's potential he chose to drag stepdaughter Emma Emmerich underwater when he committed suicide. Emma, despite being only 6 at the time, remembers the incident well and recalls it as an accident. Did he commit suicide out of guilt for his past atrocities, or did he intend to drag Emma down with him in a fit of rage? It's a hard notion to believe the former, given his track record in MGS5 The Phantom Pain. Perhaps there's a glimmer of empathy to bestow on Huey. Maybe he isn't entirely irredeemable, for maybe his actions were born out of nurture. As already claimed at this feature's outset, Dr. Huey Emmerich was doomed from the start. Born disabled before growing resentful, his upbringing led to his social awkwardness. His intellect was his saving grace. Academia was the pursuit he was most capable of, and he plowed headfirst into it. Meeting and befriending Strangelove is more complex than it appears. She was a child genius too, surpassing Huey's achievements at an earlier age and burdening him with the nickname Huey in the first place. Remember, it's a nickname chosen by her to poke fun at his disability, as Huey was the name of a crippled robot in science fiction movie Silent Running. In short, even the closest to him have looked down on him. He was removed from aerospace research at NASA, instead tasked to work on missile technology against his desire. His genuine interest in bipedal tank theory led him to working for Hot Coldman, whose intention to load nuclear arms into Peace Walker contradicted Huey's idealist outlook that the weapon was to be used purely as deterrent. These early experiences paint a different picture from the hypocritical Huey Emmerich, the one eager to arm a nuke onto Zeke despite formerly aiding Snake into thwarting Coldman's plans to do the same thing with Peace Walker. Something clearly changed in him. His former idealist outlook disappeared, one of using intellect to prevent the heinous act from repeating, and of safeguarding a future free of nuclear weaponry. In its place was self-service. Yes, his acts were extremely unethical, reprehensible, and permanently unforgivable. There are zero excuses, but perhaps his consistent portrayal of worthlessness and disposability by those who took advantage of him is as much to blame for the crimes he committed. It's context which explains his actions at least. A once naive doctor who believed his work could act as deterrence was instead used for political wrangling against his wishes, with him a mere pawn in the middle. Instead of being noted for his intellectual achievements, he was pushed around. He grew into a hypocritical coward for sure, but it's also fair to say his life could have taken a different turn were his talents acknowledged. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.